Let me ask you something. How long are you going to keep living a life that doesn't even belong to you? How long are you going to wake up every single day trying to impress people who don't even care about your dreams, trying to meet expectations that were never meant for your life? See, the problem is you've been trained to seek approval from your family, from society, from people who don't even understand your vision. And slowly, without realizing it, you lost yourself. You stopped asking, what do I want? And you started asking, what will they think? That right there is where your freedom was taken. Listen to me carefully. You were not born to live somebody else's life. You were not created to follow a script written by fear, pressure, or opinions. You got one life. One. And every time you ignore your own dreams just to make someone else comfortable, you are wasting it. Let me tell you something real. People will always have something to say. If you stay the same, they'll talk. If you change, they'll talk. If you succeed, they'll really talk. So if they're going to talk anyway, why not give them something worth talking about? Why not become the person you want to be? See, the moment you decide to live for yourself, everything changes. You stop begging for validation and start building confidence. You stop following the crowd and start leading your own path. You stop shrinking yourself and start stepping into your power. But I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy, because the moment you choose yourself, some people won't understand you anymore. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. And you know what? Good, you're supposed to change. Growth requires change. You can't become your best self while staying the same person who was afraid to be judged. Listen, stop explaining your life to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop dimming your light just so others don't feel uncomfortable. You don't need permission to be great. You don't need approval to chase your dreams. All you need is the courage to say, from today, I choose me. I choose my happiness. I choose my peace. I choose my purpose. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you are the one who has to live with your decisions, not them. So stop living a life that looks good to others and start living a life that feels right to you. This is your time. This is your moment. Take your life back and start living for yourself. Most people don't even realize how much of their life is controlled by the need for approval. It starts small. You care about what people think of your clothes, your choices, your opinions. Then slowly, it grows into something bigger. You begin to filter your dreams through other people's expectations. You stop doing what feels right to you and start doing what looks right to everyone else. And without noticing, you lose your identity trying to fit into a version of yourself that was never real. The truth is, seeking approval is a trap. It gives temporary comfort but long-term emptiness. Every time someone validates you, it feels good for a moment. But that feeling never lasts. So you keep chasing more approval, more praise, more acceptance. It becomes a cycle. And the worst part is, the more you depend on it, the less confident you become. Because now, your self-worth is no longer in your hands. It's in the hands of people who don't fully understand your journey. You have to understand that people will always have opinions. Some will support you, some will doubt you, and some won't care at all. If you build your life around their reactions, you will always feel stuck. You will hesitate to take risks. You will hold back your ideas. You will silence your voice just to avoid criticism. And in doing so, you deny yourself the opportunity to grow into who you are meant to be. Confidence is not built when everyone agrees with you. It is built when you learn to stand firm even when they don't. It comes from trusting your own decisions even when they are unpopular. It comes from taking action without waiting for applause. Because real confidence is internal. It is not dependent on likes, compliments, or approval. It is the quiet belief that you are enough, even when nobody is watching or cheering for you. There will be moments when choosing yourself feels uncomfortable. You might feel like you are disappointing people. You might feel misunderstood, but that discomfort is a sign that you are breaking free from something that was holding you back. Growth always feels unfamiliar at first. It requires you to let go of the need to be liked by everyone. You don't need permission to live your life. You don't need someone else to agree with your dreams for them to be valid. The moment you stop asking for approval is the moment you take your power back. You begin to make decisions based on your values, your goals, and your vision. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. When you let go of approval, you gain freedom. Freedom to think differently, to act boldly, to live honestly. And in that freedom, you finally start becoming the person you were always meant to be. Most people spend their entire lives moving in directions they never consciously chose. They follow paths that were suggested, expected, or imposed on them, and over time they become so used to it that they forget to question it. They wake up, go through routines, make decisions, and set goals based on what others consider right, without ever asking themselves a simple but powerful question: what do I truly want? The reason this happens is because from a young age, you are taught what you should want. Society tells you what success looks like. Family tells you what is safe. Friends influence what is acceptable. And slowly, all these voices become louder than your own. You start chasing goals that don't excite you, living a life that looks good on the outside but feels empty on the inside, and the longer you ignore your own desires, the harder it becomes to even recognize them. Clarity doesn't come from following the crowd. It comes from stepping away from the noise and reconnecting with yourself. It requires honesty. You have to be willing to sit with yourself and admit what truly matters to you, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Maybe your dreams are different. Maybe your path is unconventional. That doesn't make it wrong. It makes it yours. When you don't know what you want, you become easily influenced. You say yes to things that don't align with you. You take opportunities that don't fulfill you. You stay in situations longer than you should because you're unsure of your own direction. But when you are clear about what you want, everything changes. Your decisions become stronger. Your focus becomes sharper. You stop wasting time on things that don't serve your purpose. Knowing what you want is not about having everything figured out perfectly. It's about understanding your values and your priorities. It's about recognizing what brings you peace, what excites you, and what gives your life meaning. And sometimes discovering that requires trial and error. You may try things that don't work. You may take paths that lead nowhere. But even those experiences teach you something valuable about yourself. One of the biggest reasons people avoid asking themselves what they want is fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of choosing wrong. But living without clarity is a much bigger risk. Because when you don't choose your direction, life will choose it for you. And you may end up somewhere you never wanted to be. You have to give yourself permission to want what you want, without guilt, without explanation, without needing approval. Your life is personal. Your dreams are personal. They don't need to fit into someone else's expectations to be valid. The moment you become clear about your own desires is the moment you take control of your life. When you know what you want, you stop drifting and start moving with purpose. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. And that clarity becomes your power, guiding you toward a life that doesn't just look successful, but actually feels right to you. One of the biggest reasons people hold themselves back is the fear of being judged. It controls decisions, limits potential, and keeps people stuck in safe, predictable patterns. You start thinking about what others will say before you even take a step. You hesitate, you overthink, and sometimes you don't even try. Not because you can't, but because you're afraid of how it will look in the eyes of others. The truth is, judgment is unavoidable. No matter what you do, people will have opinions. If you stay where you are, they will question your ambition. If you try to grow, they will question your ability. If you succeed, they may question your worthiness. There is no version of your life where everyone approves of you. And once you truly understand that, something shifts. You stop trying to control what people think because you realize it was never in your control to begin with. People judge based on their own experiences, insecurities, and beliefs. Their opinions are often a reflection of their limitations, not your potential. Someone who has never taken risks may criticize your bold moves. Someone who is afraid to fail may doubt your chances of success. But that doesn't mean they are right. It simply means they are speaking from a place that is different from where you are trying to go. When you allow fear of judgment to guide your life, you start living small. You avoid standing out. You avoid speaking your truth. You avoid taking opportunities that could change your life. You begin to trade your authenticity for acceptance. And in doing so, you slowly disconnect from who you really are, but growth requires visibility. It requires you to step into spaces where you might be misunderstood. It requires you to take actions that others may not agree with. And yes, it may invite criticism, but that criticism is not a sign to stop. It is often a sign that you are doing something different, something bold, something that challenges the norm. You have to learn how to separate your identity from other people's opinions. Just because someone doubts you doesn't mean you are incapable. Just because someone criticizes you doesn't mean you are wrong. You cannot build your confidence on a foundation that depends on other people's approval. It has to come from within, from your own belief in your vision and your purpose. There will be moments when judgment feels heavy, when it makes you question yourself, when it makes you want to go back to what is comfortable. But those are the moments that define your strength. Do you shrink back into safety, or do you keep moving forward despite the noise? Accepting that people will judge you is not about becoming careless or ignoring feedback completely. It's about understanding the difference between constructive input and limiting opinions. You listen to what helps you grow, but you ignore what tries to hold you back. The moment you stop fearing judgment is the moment you become free. Free to express yourself, free to take risks, free to pursue your goals without constantly looking over your shoulder. And in that freedom, you begin to live a life that is true to who you are, not a version shaped by the expectations of others. One of the hardest things for many people to do is to choose themselves without feeling guilty about it. From a young age, you are taught to prioritize others, to be available, to be helpful, to sacrifice your own needs so that others can feel comfortable. Over time, this becomes a habit. You start believing that putting yourself first is wrong, that it makes you selfish, that it might hurt people or damage relationships. So you keep saying yes when you want to say no. You keep giving when you feel empty. You keep showing up for others while slowly abandoning yourself. But the truth is, constantly putting yourself last is not kindness, it is self-neglect. You cannot build a strong, meaningful life if you are always running on empty. You cannot truly support others if you are exhausted, frustrated, and disconnected from your own needs. Choosing yourself is not about ignoring others or becoming careless. It is about creating balance. It is about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your well-being matter just as much as anyone else's. Guilt often shows up the moment you try to set boundaries. You may feel uncomfortable saying no to people who are used to you always saying yes. You may feel pressure to explain your decisions, to justify why you need time for yourself. And sometimes people may not understand. They may react negatively, not because you are wrong, but because they are not used to this version of you. They were comfortable with the version of you that always sacrificed, always adjusted, always put them first. You have to understand that setting boundaries will change how people respond to you, but that does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are growing. It means you are learning to respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, you teach others how to treat you. Choosing yourself also means making decisions that align with your happiness, even if they disappoint others. That could mean walking away from relationships that no longer serve you, pursuing a path that others don't agree with, or simply taking time to focus on your own growth. These decisions are not easy, especially when they affect people you care about. But staying in situations that drain you just to keep others happy is a slow way of losing yourself. There is a difference between being selfish and being self-aware. Being selfish means disregarding others completely, but choosing yourself means acknowledging your own needs while still being respectful of others. It is about understanding that your life is your responsibility. No one else will live with the consequences of your choices the way you will. At first, choosing yourself may feel unfamiliar. You may question your decisions. You may feel like you are doing something wrong, but over time, that feeling fades. It is replaced by a sense of clarity, confidence, and inner peace. You begin to feel more in control of your life. You start making decisions with intention instead of obligation. When you let go of guilt and start choosing yourself, you don't lose people who truly value you. You only lose those who are benefiting from you losing yourself. And that is not a loss, it is a necessary change. Because in the end, the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of everything else. If you don't choose yourself, no one else will do it for you. Change is something most people say they want, but very few are truly prepared for what it demands. Growth is not comfortable, it does not happen while you are staying the same, and it definitely does not come without resistance. The moment you decide to live for yourself, to follow your own path, and to break away from expectations, you will notice something immediately. Things around you will start to shift, and not everyone will be ready for that shift. People get used to a certain version of you. They become comfortable with who you have been, how you behave, and what role you play in their lives. When you start changing, when you begin to think differently, act differently, and prioritize your own growth, it can make others uncomfortable. They may not understand your decisions. They may question your intentions. Some may even try to pull you back into your old patterns, not because they want to harm you, but because your growth challenges their comfort. You will hear things like you have changed, you are not the same anymore, or you are becoming distant. And in many ways they are right. You are changing. But that is exactly what growth looks like. You cannot expect to become a better version of yourself while holding on to the same mindset, the same habits, and the same limitations that kept you stuck in the first place. Growth requires you to let go. Let go of old beliefs that no longer serve you. Let go of habits that hold you back. And sometimes, let go of people who cannot grow with you. This is one of the most difficult parts because it involves stepping into the unknown. It means leaving behind what is familiar for something that is uncertain. But staying the same just because it feels safe is a greater risk. Because over time, that comfort turns into frustration, and that frustration turns into regret. There will be moments when growth feels lonely, when you feel like no one understands what you are trying to do, when the path ahead seems unclear and the support you once had feels distant. But those moments are part of the process. They are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are signs that you are evolving. It is important to remember that growth is not about becoming someone completely different. It is about becoming more of who you truly are. It is about removing the layers of fear, doubt, and expectation that were never yours to carry. It is about stepping into your potential and allowing yourself to expand beyond the limits you once accepted. You have to be patient with yourself during this process. Growth does not happen overnight. It takes time, consistency, and a willingness to keep going even when it feels difficult. There will be setbacks. There will be moments of doubt. But every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. When you embrace change instead of resisting it, you open the door to new opportunities, new perspectives, and a stronger sense of self. You begin to see challenges as lessons instead of obstacles. You become more resilient, more confident, and more aligned with the life you want to create. In the end, growth is not optional if you want a better life. It is necessary. And the more you accept that change is part of the journey, the easier it becomes to move forward without fear, knowing that every step you take is shaping you into the person you are meant to become. At the core of everything, there is one truth that most people avoid accepting. Your life is your responsibility. Not your parents, not your friends, not society, and not the opinions of people around you. At the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with your choices, your actions, and your results. Yet many people go through life as if someone else will eventually come and fix things for them, guide them completely, or take full responsibility for their happiness. That mindset is exactly what keeps them stuck. Taking control of your life starts with accepting ownership. It means understanding that where you are right now is a result of the decisions you have made up to this point. Some of those decisions may have been influenced by others, some may have come from fear, and some may have come from confusion. But still, they are yours, and that is not something to feel ashamed of. It is something to become aware of. Because awareness is the first step toward change. When you stop blaming external circumstances for everything that goes wrong, you begin to see your power. You realize that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always have control over how you respond. That response is where your future is shaped. Two people can go through the same situation, but end up in completely different places in life simply because of the choices they made afterward. Taking control also means letting go of the habit of waiting. Waiting for the perfect time, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to push you, waiting for life to become easier. But the truth is, the perfect time never comes. Motivation is temporary, and waiting too long only leads to missed opportunities. The people who succeed are not the ones who waited the longest. They are the ones who decided to act despite uncertainty. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop living in reaction mode and start living in creation mode. Instead of reacting to what life throws at you, you begin to design the life you want. You start setting clear goals, making intentional choices, and building habits that support your growth. You become more disciplined because you understand that no one else will do it for you. This level of responsibility also brings clarity. You stop wasting energy on blaming others or making excuses. You stop comparing your journey to others in a way that makes you feel stuck. Instead, you focus on what you can control, what you can improve, and what steps you can take next. That focus is powerful because it keeps you moving forward. Even if progress is slow, there will be moments when taking responsibility feels heavy because it removes the comfort of excuses. It forces you to face your reality honestly. But that honesty is what leads to transformation. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. And once you accept that you are in control, you also accept that you have the ability to change your direction at any time. The most empowering realization in life is this: you are not stuck. You are simply at a point where your future depends on the decisions you make from this moment forward. When you fully embrace responsibility, you unlock your ability to grow, to rebuild, and to create a life that actually reflects who you are and what you want. So let me leave you with this truth. You have spent enough time living for others, enough time chasing approval, meeting expectations, and trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for your true self. But now something has changed. Now you see clearly. You see that your life is not a rehearsal. It is not a practice round. It is the only chance you get to become who you were meant to be. And listen carefully. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is going to suddenly give you permission to live your dreams. Nobody is going to hand you the life you keep imagining in your mind. That decision is yours. From this moment, you have a choice. You can continue living the way others expect you to live, or you can finally take your power back and start living for yourself. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Yes, people will talk. Yes, some won't understand your change, but let them talk, because for the first time in your life, you are not living to impress them anymore. You are living to fulfill. Your dreams matter. Your peace matters. Your future matters. And every day you delay choosing yourself, you are delaying the life you deserve. So stand up in your own life. Take full control. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. And start right now, because the day you decide to fully take responsibility for your life is the day everything begins to change, not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Now go and build a life that finally belongs to you.